Yeah, this Packers defense, man, maybe they're peaking at the right time too. I get the competition isn't to the level of a playoff team, but this could be another game for the Packers defense, Joshy, where we're going, yep, they're peaking at the right time. They're coming along just like we had hoped. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Is that where you're sitting on this one?
Yeah, to me right now, the Packers are kind of just trying to find that middle ground of playing well enough but not putting your guys at risk and winning in convincing fashion, because there's still a lot of doubters out there in terms of, is this team actually a Super Bowl contender? You certainly don't think they're as good a Super Bowl contender as the Bills, the Chiefs, the Lions, or the Eagles, but that's not how the NFL playoffs always work. Like, sometimes those teams flunk out and something happens in the middle of a game. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be shocking to lose a quarterback in a playoff game. That happens a lot. That changes the entire face of how, like, if Jared Goff or Jalen Hurts goes out, we see what happens. It's not going to be good. Mm-hmm. I think the Packers have found their rhythm on offense and how they want to win, and I believe in them to be able to win in multiple ways, as much as it seems you were running through Josh Jacobs, and that's how it's going to be. I have no questions about Jordan Love, and people were trying to do has he been good enough? I've seen it on KBN like 1,000 times. Has he earned his contract? Has he earned his pay? And it's like, yeah, the guy was hurt for the first half of the season, missed multiple games, and then when he becomes healthy, wouldn't you know it, Toyota-thon, and he's good again. And it's like, yeah, of course, because he's just good. There's a reason he's paid that way. So I think the Packers can win in multiple ways, but I think what's to their advantage is running in the playoffs always works. It's always a recipe for victories. You don't want to get into the shootout, sling the ball around, because those are coin flips. But when you dominate time of possession and you take care of the ball, that's how you win playoff football. I think the defense is rounding into its own. The metrics everywhere you point are good. They're better at stopping the run than I think we've seen in like a decade. And they're opportunistic when they're passing the ball. So I think everyone is, and it's health too. The team is extremely
this
healthy.
Team is super healthy,
and getting healthier. Knock on wood here. It's just the recipe is pointing to this should go well. This should be a chance for the Packers to make a Super Bowl, and at very least make an NFC Championship game.
So I'm with you on that. Obviously, the tough part is you got to go on the road. And I saw this comment from Roberto on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube stream. I want the 5 seed because if you play at Atlanta, you can get a home field on the road, right? Like if you go to a place, Atlanta, they're not very good, but with the Buccaneers' loss yesterday, they catapult them for the lead in the NFC South. And are currently the 4 seed. The thing is, I don't think the 5 seed is in question for Green Bay, Roberto. I think it is definitely 6 or 7. Now, the thing Josh and I have been talking about, the last 10 minutes is we're live with you, Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf, just outside of Lambeau Field, just outside the south end zone. In snowy Green Bay, the snow is coming down. People starting to roll in here. The nice thing about a Monday Night Football game on December 23rd is a lot of people are off from work. So I stopped at a quick trip on my way over to the Tundra Trio this morning, got a coffee. There was people at 8:30 a.m. buying booze galore, right? Like people are gunning this thing all day long because they're off from work getting ready for a 7:15 kickoff on ESPN tonight. So this is the biggest party of the year so far, despite it being against a bad team. Now, back to this. So wanting the 5 seed, I just don't think the 5 seed's in question. That's going to be Detroit or Minnesota. And I think it's going to come down to that game the final week of the season to decide who wins the NFC North. Now, I think the Packers, to get ahead of myself here, will go on the road and beat Minnesota next week. I think there's a good shot Detroit could lose to San Francisco as well, although they're not really playing for anything, but that's still a good team, man. I know Green Bay handled them the way they did earlier in the year. I still think San Francisco is a dangerous team with a potent offense and a pretty solid defense. So could they give Detroit some troubles next week? I do think so. And that game, Week 18, could come down to the winner of the NFC North. So I think the 5 seed is reserved already for Minnesota or Detroit. I just don't see a path for Green Bay to get back up there, especially with a Minnesota win yesterday. Now, Washington goes to Philadelphia yesterday and gets it done. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is eliminated from that game early with the concussion, but the way Washington plays and what they're capable of offensively is so impressive. So I think the 7 seed is more in question for Green Bay than the 5 seed at this point. I think what you're looking at outside of the division winners is probably what you're going to get in the NFC, right? So likely Detroit or Minnesota, the 1 seed, Philadelphia, the 2 seed. Whoever wins the divisions in the West and the South will come in at the 3 and the 4. And then wild cards, I think it'll go Detroit or Minnesota 5, Green Bay 6, Washington 7, just given the strength of schedule down the stretch here, is probably how it shakes out. So you're likely going to a divisional winner. It could be the Rams at this point, which is certainly a team I don't want to see. But to Roberto's point, that could be another situation where it's a home game on the road. L.A. Rams fans aren't coming out in bunches. You saw it earlier this season when Green Bay went to L.A. and won. You're playing a very different football team than you played in October. But that is certainly an environment where you could get the Packers fans on your side. So I think the good news, regardless of what seed the Packers end up with and wherever they end up playing on the road in the wild card round, there's a good chance they could have a home crowd on their side. So I think that's worth mentioning. Josh, you mentioned the health of this team. Big news this morning as the Packers have officially activated tight end Luke Musgrave off of IR. Luke Musgrave will be active tonight for the Packers against the New Orleans Saints. Once again, emphasizing the importance of that tight end position within the Matt LaFleur offense, but also emphasizing how healthy this team is as they go from 5 players on injury reserve down to 4 now, with Luke Musgrave making the comeback tonight against the New Orleans Saints. I don't know how much Musgrave will see for Matt LaFleur's offense tonight as he continues to work his way back from that injury, but the good news is you have him back as you get ready for this postseason stretch. And we've seen a lot of times where Matt LaFleur will use 2 tight ends. You saw Ben Sims get a lot of run the last couple of weeks. So I think that is huge news. Maybe not in terms of, he's going to be your number 1 receiver. I don't think that. But the 2 tight end sets, some of the creativity that Matt LaFleur can utilize offensively is with Luke Musgrave on the field. So that is big news for the Green Bay Packers as they gear up for the Saints tonight. Still 14.5-point favorites as it looks on ESPN Bet. It's a scary line. Look, the Packers are certainly 2 touchdowns better than the Saints. We just saw that they won by 17 in Seattle. So I'm not saying it's impossible the Packers will cover that 14.5. It's just kind of a scary line, right? Like, we talked about it a bit last week. Could there be a situation where the Packers are up 17 a majority of this game, and then late fourth quarter the Saints score a touchdown, and the final score is, say, 28-18 or something of the like, right? 27-17, 31-21. Yeah. And are you walking away from that game going, that's a Super Bowl team, that's the team we've been waiting to see? Or are you walking away going, man, I thought they were better than that? Because I just feel like that's the one thing a 14.5-point line sets you up for, is to walk away disappointed. And look, I'm going to say this now, and Joshy's going to laugh in my face because he knows I'm the biggest overreactor there is. But I'm going to say this now. No matter the result tonight, as long as the Packers win, I will be happy. Joshy, do you buy that from me?
Not for a split second. I think if anything, we're going to leave with questions about the offense.
Really?
I see a very difficult path to the Saints even really scoring more than like 10 to 14 points. What do they have to offer on offense? I mean, there's certainly a scenario where they have like a good scripted first drive and like end up moving down the field just because they put together the perfect play. The game plan is the word I'm looking for.
There you go. You got there.
It just took a bit. But like what are we supposed to learn about this team even on defense? Like they're probably going to play pretty conservative. They're not going to be dialing up a whole bunch of blitzes. And if they are, it's probably going to be like a standard, here comes Edgerrin Cooper up the A-gap and they get him or they don't type thing. Like,
All right.
Back to Luke Musgrave, though, quickly. I do want to say I would like to see him get a decent amount of burn in the following 3 games, just because I think he's got a lot of rust to shake off. We haven't seen him in how long. But adding him as a factor, like I don't want it to come down to we have a perfect Luke Musgrave play that might score us a touchdown, but he hasn't seen more than 2 targets since like week 3 of the NFL season.
It's since September for sure.
Right. So at that point, it's like, what are we even doing here? Like, obviously you got to bring him back slowly, the injury, make sure he's ready to go, conditioning and all that. But like, I think it's time to like, especially if the game gets out of hand, dial up some Luke Musgrave plays. put Tucker Kraft on the bench. Like, make sure he's getting some action, because adding that factor to the dominant run game, a guy who stretches like that, with also Tucker Kraft, who's a yak monster, that's going to be nightmares for defenses.
I like that term, yak monster.
He is
very
a yak
good by
monster.
you, Josh. He
Rob
is the yak
Domofsky,
monster.
our guy, put out a great article about Tucker Kraft.
Hey, check that out, ESPN.com, where you can read all of Rob Domofsky's work. You can hear him tonight, Green Bay Game Day, which begins at 4 o'clock. I'll be joined by Gabe Neitzel, Super Bowl champion Jarrett Bush throughout. Rob Domofsky will join us about 4:30 tonight to preview all things Packers Saints. And then the Jason Wilde Hour from 5 to 6 right here just outside Lambeau Field at the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio at the Tundra Trio, just outside the south end zone at Lambeau Field. That snow's still coming down. I think it's supposed to stop. I'm not a meteorologist by any means, Joshy, but if this continues, it could be a sloppy-ass game tonight, which is where, again, that comes into my head of, could we walk away disappointed? And I don't think so. I think the Packers are just a significantly better team than New Orleans, but something to keep an eye on tonight. Got to tell you about my friends over at Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. I stopped in at a liquor store here in Green Bay Saturday night. Guess what I picked up? The Door County Distillery bourbon for the old fashions. Also had it on the rocks on Saturday night. Was hanging out with my brother, tipping back a few Door County Distillery bourbons. Don't forget about their cherry brandy, too. If you're a brandy old-fashioned person, they've got the cherry brandy made with and infused with local Door County cherries. They've got the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey for your whiskey old-fashions. Or if you're like me and you like the bourbon old-fashions, the delicious Door County Distillery bourbon. It's affordable, it's local, it's award-winning. You can't go wrong with our friends at Door County Distillery. You can visit their website, doorcountydistillery.com, to find the retailer nearest you. They're all over the state. Green Bay, Milwaukee, Madison, Stevens Point, wherever you are, you can get Door County Distillery. And you can find a huge list of unique cocktail recipes as well on their website, doorcountydistillery.com. Jair Alexander is interesting to me, Joshy, because he's the guy, and again, he's been nicknamed Jair Bakhtiari. I don't think that's fair, but it is what he's been nicknamed on the internet. The thing with Jair is, we will definitely not know until about 5:45 tonight if he's playing or not. And that will be the case going on next week into the postseason. It's going to be a game-time decision every week with him. Now, I'm good if he doesn't play tonight because, look, the Packers don't need Jair Alexander to win this game. However, next week into the postseason, I would make the argument, I'd feel a lot better if Jair Alexander's out there rather than, say, Eric Stokes, who's been playing a lot of snaps the last couple of weeks. My ideal scenario for Jair, Joshy, and I'm curious if you would agree with me on this one, is he doesn't play tonight. He's out tonight against the Saints. He makes his return next Sunday afternoon. This game has just been flexed, by the way. 3:25 kick on Fox next week between the Packers and the Vikings. I hope Jair Alexander comes back for the Minnesota game, has the opportunity to play the whole game, knock off some rust. If he plays against Chicago, fine. I'm just kind of hoping that is a game where there are no implications for the Packers and we don't need to really worry about Jair. But I want him to have the opportunity to knock off some rust and then be healthy for the postseason run. So I would say ideal return time for Jair is next week against Minnesota for me. Where are you at on the Jair Alexander situation?
I'm right there with you. I think anytime Jair plays, it makes it less likely he plays in the next week. I think I would love to see him, have him out there. You need some help against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I actually am very high on Carrington Valentine. I think he's been playing very, very well. But Jair Alexander, I think, while he might not be the all-pro of previous, the Packers' defense and team is better with him on the field.
Absolutely.
I don't care if he plays week 18 at all. If it depends, the stakes of that game, that's not a very potent passing attack. It is what it is. If he plays, knocks the rust off, and then takes another week off against the Bears and is just a healthy and active, I wouldn't mind. Or maybe just get him out there for a few snaps and live with whatever you got. I want him in the playoffs, and I want him at his best in the playoffs.
Look, Eric Stokes has not been good this year.
No.
Right? He's been fine in terms of he hasn't gotten shredded as much as maybe we've expected. But there's been a few moments this year where Eric Stokes is in coverage and you're like, what? What? What just happened there? And that's what I worry about because you don't want that in the postseason. And you don't want corner to be your desperate falling point because I think where we're at as a collective fan base, and there's a couple comments I want to take a look at on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel in just a moment, but where we're at is I think we're to the point where I think we can acknowledge, yeah, the Packers are good enough to get there. Obviously, a few things need to break their way. This defense needs to continue playing the way it is. And look, you're not going to go into easy environments come divisional round and championship round. It's likely Detroit and Philadelphia back-to-back. Or Minnesota and Philadelphia back-to-back. Or Minnesota likely won't be, two NFC North opponents in a row. But there is a scenario in which that could happen. It's just unlikely. You need Jair. You need a stud defense or stud corner, I should say, because obviously I have Xavier McKinney as well back there. But you need those two at full strength in your defensive backfield to feel confident against a team with multiple good receivers. I look at Detroit. I look at Minnesota. I look at Philadelphia. The teams that have beaten you this year have something in common, and that is they have multiple solid receiving threats. So you feel much more confident with Jair out there in the postseason than you would without Jair out there in the postseason. So that's where I'm at. A lot of comments coming through saying, hey, pay attention. This is a trap game. Yamas Newman on the ESPN Madison YouTube chat says, this station is way too confident. I'm starting to feel a trap game coming on. Everyone's looking ahead to Minnesota. Chris chimes in later, says, trap game. These boys need to be on point and play smart football. Go, Pack, go. I feel you. Minnesota is a game that concerns me a heck of a lot more, but it goes back to this point and this point only. And it's a Joshy DiMaggio joint. This feels like a game where there is a 0.0% chance that New Orleans can come in here and win. They are just severely outmatched by this Green Bay team. Green Bay is that good.
It's also important to remember that the Packers can lock up the playoffs tonight.
Right. This is a win in your end game. Absolutely. So they do have something to play for.
Right. There is no where we are all looking ahead, but you don't think they're all thinking, hey, let's make sure we get in the playoffs first.
Right.
Let's not let anything happen crazy here. We are going to take it to them. We're going to give them all we got. And if you guys take care of business, we are a playoff team, and then we're looking at seeds and how to best perform there.
Right.
There is a look ahead is a game where it doesn't matter in the grand scape of things. This matters.
No, and I think Jordan Love, being a very impressive leader, by the way, in his second year as a starter, been really impressed with the evolution of his leadership style and everybody that's around the team every day, right? Rob Domofsky, Jason Wilde, et cetera. Talk about how his leadership style has evolved. But to hear him say right after that win last week in Seattle, in his post-game availability, yeah, we're viewing this as the playoffs now, right? There's not another losable game on our schedule. We have to win every single week, and that includes the postseason and eventually, hopefully, the Super Bowl for this team. It is nice there's stakes here tonight, Joshy, to your point, because if there wasn't, then maybe you have a better case for a trap game. If the Packers already had it locked up, let's say Sunday's games, there was a scenario in which they could get it locked up without having to win today. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit different, but with actual repercussions and with actual something to gain on the line tonight, I just don't feel like this is a game where the guys in the building are going, hey, yeah, they stink. They're beat up. They're no good. This one's falling into our pocket. Let's pay attention to Minnesota. That's just not the behavior in the building. Is that the behavior of Joshy and I? Sure is. Yep, absolutely is. We're looking ahead to Minnesota. But the guys in the building are not looking ahead to Minnesota. They are looking at New Orleans tonight. It is a national game. And look, players don't take that softly either. This is a game where everybody in the country, all 30 other NFL teams, have this game on tonight because they're going to go, all right, what's Green Bay got? What's Matt LaFleur cooking up offensively? How's this new coordinator, Jeff Hafley? And it seems like this defense is really coming along. People are taking note of this game. And something that was super impressive with Jordan Love down the stretch, besides minus the New York Giants Monday Night Football game in December last year, was he was great in national games. Right? Detroit on Thanksgiving. Kansas City, Sunday Night Football. He was really good in national spotlight games last year. And for the most part, that's continued this year. When this team's been on national television, Love and this offense is cooked. Think about last week in Seattle. Tonight against New Orleans, another great opportunity for that. So those are the things I have my eyes on tonight. But Joshy is completely right. There is something to play for tonight for this Green Bay team. There is. And they've got a lot to gain. They need to win tonight in order to solidify that playoff spot. And then when it comes to Minnesota next week, you've gotten your ass kicked by your divisional teams this year. You've got a win over Chicago to show for. That's it. 1-3 in NFC North play this year are the Green Bay Packers. So they've got a lot to play for in terms of pride, in terms of their standing in the NFC North. And they want to beat the teams they play the most. So next week is a big one in that regard. And do I need to spell it out for Week 18? It's the Chicago Bears at Lambeau Field. The Bears, who have obviously had an awful season, have fired head coach Matt Eberflus. Caleb Williams hasn't been all they've cracked up to be. They have fallen completely short of expectations coming into this season. They want to come to Green Bay and spoil the end of the regular season. So the good news is the Packers have pride and other things to play for the remainder of this regular season. So while we as fans and we as radio guys can view this as quote-unquote trap game material, I just don't think the guys in the building are viewing it that way. They have a playoff spot on the line tonight. That's enough to play for. I don't give a damn that it's Spencer Rattler. I don't care that Alvin Kamara's out and it's Kendre Miller who's going to be packing the punch for the Saints backfield. This is a playoff game. You win and you're in for Green Bay. So no trap game material in my eyes there. Brambo 09, availability is the number one ability. And look, the Packers have everybody available. They're down to 4 guys on the IR. 4. That is tied for the second least in the entirety of the NFL and tied for second least of playoff teams. It is only the Buffalo Bills in better shape. They have 3 guys on IR in the NFL. I mean, when you compare it to another Super Bowl favorite in the NFC, Detroit's up to 23 guys on injured reserve. 23. The Packers have 3. So it's a good case for them going forward, despite likely needing to go on the road for the playoffs. What worries you most, Joshy? Is there literally anything? Like, I was thinking of that question earlier today. I was sipping my coffee and doing some show prep for tonight ahead of Green Bay game day and, of course, Mr. Irrelevant. And I wrote down the question, what worries you most?
Health.
I'm going to ask Jarrett Bush. I'm going to ask Gabe Neitzel this. But I can't think of anything that even slightly worries me outside of injury.
Yeah, it's just health. Health is the only thing I care about. I could even stomach a loss in the 0.0 scenario. Like, you're still a favorite to make the playoffs altogether. There is nothing but injury, and it's probably injury to like 3 guys total that would actually, I would be like, all right, this is a big problem. Aside from that, it's just keep as many of your guys able to go as possible and take care of business the way you used to. Get Josh Jacobs some burn, but once you get ahead, I want to see him ride and pine. And I don't care that he feels better when he's playing more. You can figure that out in Minnesota. We'll get you plenty of touches there. So, yeah, I'm not looking at anything other than health. I mean, matter of fact, there's nothing the Saints do well. There's not like, well,
not at this point.
You need to watch out for XYZ. It's like, yeah, don't let Marquez Valdez-Scantling run past you, and you'll be fine.
Yep. Bingo.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, MVS is their best weapon offensively tonight.
Yeah.
Am I missing anybody? Kendre Miller's solid, but he's a number 2 back, right? Like, he's going to be obviously playing the starting role with Kamara out tonight, but
you don't even have the Taysom Hill factor, which was that weird.
Right, he's on IR.
That could make something like they've got guys that you'll see on offense that you don't know who they are.
Correct.
And that's like Bub Means is even on the IR, and that's a guy I learned about like 6 weeks ago.
I mean, hey, life is good as a Green Bay Packers fan. I'll tell you what. I mean, you look around the league and some of the trash that these teams are running out, Joshy. Life is good as a Packers fan.
Yes.
Thank God I'm not a Saints fan. And shout out to the Saints fans that are still making the trip. I haven't seen as many as I expected so far walking through the
hell you leave New Orleans for Green Bay in December for?
It's December, yeah, right. Come spend Christmas in Green Bay as it's snowing.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the lot to my right here. So we're right next to lot 1 here, which is the main parking lot in Green Bay, right off Oneida Street. And it's plowed, but it is still snowing, so some residue is starting to build up. Like, it's not going to be a fun tailgate by any means tonight, as it's snowing, and it's what currently it says it's about 30 degrees here in Green Bay. Like, that's not fun for people coming from New Orleans. Obviously, Lambeau Field is a national masterpiece, and it is a glorious spot for fans and a destination for NFL fans. But man, oh man,
the word you're looking for?
Landmark is exactly the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Joshy. What would I do without you?
Nothing.
I mean, we wouldn't be on the air right now,
No.
so I appreciate you holding it down back at the Gruber Law offices. One call, that's all studio. If you're watching along with us, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube, let me know what you're worried about most tonight, if anything. Because Joshy and I are struggling to come up with anything in regards to what worries us. The Saints team is no good, but the Packers have something to play for, so they're going to bring their A game tonight. You said something that piqued my interest on Josh Jacobs. Because, look, the number one goal besides getting a win and securing a playoff spot tonight for Green Bay is getting out of this game healthy, right? Leaving this game without any serious injuries to any of your stud players. So you mentioned, get Jacobs going, let him dominate the game early, then sit his butt down and let Chris Brooks and Emmanuel Wilson do the work later in the game once you've built up, hopefully, like a 14-point, 17-point cushion, and let them take care of the work. He's a guy, though, that seems like he's at his best when he's getting 20 carries. And even against an inferior opponent tonight, I still think this could be a game where Jacobs has 22 carries, Love throws 22 passes, and the Packers score 28, 31 points, and that's plenty against a bad New Orleans team. So I still think he's going to get normal workload tonight, which I'm fine with. But again, the one thing, and here I am knocking on wood here, Joshy, is you just got to get out of this one healthy.
Yeah, that's all it is, and you don't want to start looking too far ahead. I don't think trap game, but you don't want to take the foot off the gas just like mentally in terms of these guys staying up and ready to go. You want everyone to feel good, to keep getting there. Like, you don't want any rust to build in here if you end up ahead in this game. You do have to consider, like, is it better just to play these guys and keep them loose, or is it better to just hold on here and we're waiting for if the playoffs are far away. It feels like they're right around the corner, but
we got a few weeks yet.
There's still a lot to happen, and there's still a lot the Packers have to go through to get there. I mean, hell, we lost David Bakhtiari on New Year's Day a few years ago, and that totally changed the course of the Packers season.
Yeah, you didn't need to bring that one up, but fair point.
That is these are all the things, and that's where I'm at. And the Packers are in a very unique spot because they are third in the NFC with one of the better records in all of the NFL. In the NFC North. I mean, it's just it's one of those spots where there is really nothing. Like, you would love to beat the Vikings. It's not really going to matter or not if you do. If you end up there is a scenario where the Commanders could end up vaulting you, and then you'd have to travel to Philadelphia, which is not what you necessarily want to be doing.
No,
but that's not an unbeatable. They just gave up 36 points.
The thing is, Joshy, and this is kind of my takeaway the last 2 weeks, specifically in the NFC, there are better teams, right? Like Philadelphia and Detroit, I view as the two best teams in the NFC. But as we've learned in the last 2 weeks, both of those teams are beatable. Yeah. Right. While I think it's likely one of those two represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, would I be shocked if Minnesota rips off a road win in Philadelphia? No. I wouldn't be.
Not at all.
Would I be shocked if Green Bay goes on the road to Detroit or Philadelphia and gets a win in the divisional round? No. These are beatable football teams. And while the Packers are everything but perfect thus far in the NFL season, they have proven that they are good enough to beat most of these teams. They are good enough to be in the conversation amongst the NFC's premier teams that could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So while, yes, I don't know if Washington's they're probably a year or two away yet. That's an impressive win yesterday. Even without Jalen Hurts for most of the game for Philadelphia, to put up the points that they have consistently put up this year, Washington has a potential to be dangerous as the 7th seed in the NFC.
Yeah, let's not forget, they had the Eagles had a 14-point lead and squandered it away. Even
Correct.
With Kenny Pickett, that's still impressive.
And Kenny Pickett is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
That guy was a starter, and by all means, not a great starter.
Yeah, he
was a starter for a majority of his NFL career.
He was there. He was doing stuff,
Yeah, well said. Great analysis there, Joshy. He was doing stuff.
That's all I got to say about Kenny Pickett.
Look, I'm not making the case that he's a Pro Bowl quarterback, but it's not like he's some horrible scrub, right? It's not like you're jotting out Sean Clifford was Philadelphia. That was an unnecessary shot.
Who was the Bills quarterback who couldn't stop throwing pick sixes?
Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, he was no Nathan Peterman. So he does have that. Better than Nathan Peterman. Put it on Kenny Pickett's head zone.
Jossie, I think you and I are better than Nathan Peterman. I mean, I just spike the football at that point.
Yeah, you literally would have been more productive had you just gotten the ball and spiked it past the line of scrimmage. You would have been better than he was at quarterback.
Yeah, no, he was not very good. So anyway, So here's the kind of final point before we get to Underdog, before we get to what we learn when we wrap up the show, on Packers Saints. The Packers can't lose. They won't lose. It's just a matter of how big they win, right? That is the storyline tonight. How dominant do they look against a much more inferior opponent? Do they look like an NFC Championship caliber team? Do they look like the team we saw in Seattle for most of that game last week, right? Fast start, controlling lead, and despite kind of floundering offensively in the second half, there was never a moment, despite the billion drives that each team had in the second half last week in Seattle, that you felt like that game was in jeopardy. You need to see a repeat of that against a clearly inferior opponent today. You need the Packers to, A, get off to a fast start, and B, maintain a lead. Because, as we've said all week, 0% chance New Orleans is coming to Green Bay this week and winning. It's just not happening. So how good do the Packers look? How good can they look? Because last week in Seattle against what could be a likely playoff team, a likely division champ, they looked dominant. And you would like to see a repeat performance of that today, or tonight rather, against the New Orleans Saints. That's kind of my final thought on this, Joshy. Any other final thoughts? Luke Musgrave. Hopefully you get some snaps. I would like to see some Musgrave, but not too much Musgrave tonight against New Orleans as he's activated from IR.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to mind my mind for anything here. But
mind your mind.
Mind my mind, yep. So, like, taking in the pickaxe, trying to knock out some coal in there, trying to figure. Like, I want Luke Musgrave to get 2 catches. Then I'll be happy. That's what I want.
Simple.
Yep.
Yeah. One of my golden rules, Joshy, is nobody gives a damn about your fantasy team. But we're each going to talk about our fantasy teams for a moment. Because I'm in a situation where I need 21 points out of Jaden Reed tonight to advance to my league's championship game. Probably not going to get it. 21 is a lot. He's only done that 3 times this year.
Right. It's a type of situation where this game is not conducive to it. Had it been next week and the Vikings, I think you got yourself a good case.
Yeah.
You expect to be back and forth. The total in it will be high. You basically will know by half. Because if the Packers jump out to a lead like we all expect, it's kind of be they're gonna put it back in second gear and coast. And you're gonna see a lot of Chris Brooks, Emmanuel Wilson, and just trying to get into the end of the game. Jaden Reed basically needs to score 2 touchdowns, the first 2 himself, and he needs to do a lot of work getting there. Like you almost need a 40-yarder to even have a shot.
Yep, I would agree. And hopefully we can get it. Hopefully we can get it. I'm not ready for fantasy football to be over, which is why I play on Underdog. UnderdogFantasy.com, the Underdog app. Use promo code GoodKarma, all one word at sign up. GOODKARMA. Good Karma at sign up. And get this, if you've been waiting, you've heard me and Joshy talk all season about the Underdog app and UnderdogFantasy.com. If you're waiting, I'll tell you tonight is the night. I'll tell you why tonight is the night. New users on the Underdog app and UnderdogFantasy.com using promo code GoodKarma at sign up get a free Jordan Love pick tonight. All you need is higher than half of a yard from Jordan Love tonight on the Underdog app and UnderdogFantasy.com. That's your free pick if you're a new user. Using promo code GoodKarma, you get a free Jordan Love pick tonight for Monday Night Football. So that's one pick in your pick'em entry that's going to hit. You only need to do 2 to make money, right? So whether that's a Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown, whether you're looking at Jaden Reed, higher than 3.5 catches tonight, there are some good opportunity to make some money. So make some moolah on the Underdog app and UnderdogFantasy.com tonight. I tweeted out my picks on Twitter, X at Alex_Strouf for the night. I'm not a new user, so I didn't get my free Jordan Love pick. But you could be the new user who gets your free pick on Jordan Love. Total yards, higher than half of a total yard for Jordan Love tonight is your new customer free pick by using promo code GoodKarma at sign up. Here's what I got tonight. Jordan Love, higher than 1.5 touchdowns. Jaden Reed, higher than 3.5 receptions. And Spencer Rattler, higher than 3.5 sacks taken. I think we see a repeat on the pass rush from a week ago. And look, this Saints O-line isn't as good as Seattle anymore, right? Typically, they're a pretty good O-line factory in New Orleans. They're just beat up, and they're protecting Spencer Rattler tonight. So that's 1 sack a quarter. That's all I need. And I think we get it tonight on the Underdog app. Jordan Love, higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Jaden Reed, higher than 3.5 receptions. Spencer Rattler, higher than 3.5 sacks taken. That wins you 4.11 times your money. So 15, it wins you about $64 on the Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. If you want to tail me, or if you're a new user, you get that free Jordan Love pick higher than half of a total yard. Now, getting away from the pick'em game on Underdog. Joshy might be retiring next week, is my understanding.
Yeah, I've talked about best ball. We've joked about how many drafts I'm doing. I've currently just finished earlier today my 115th playoff best ball. But when it comes to season-long best ball, I've got a chance to have a chance right now, Stroufy. Out of this contest here, this is the Hound Dog 3 contest that I was drafting, early before the season even started. Out of 18,720 people, I am one of the 104 last people to make the final week. So next week determines all of the marbles. The price, now the amount to be won here ranges from $20,000 to first place or $100 to 51st through 104.
All right, let's make a quick hundo at the very least.
That is great, and that will be very beneficial. The good thing is I have a team that is healthy and looking good enough with enough players out there to actually finish with a respectable score and a score that could reach all the way up to like a top 15, top 10, like even first overall. Like that's extremely unlikely. It's still a 1 in 104 shot. But I like where my team's at. But if I finish in the top 15 trophy, that's $1,000. That's some fun money.
So we're having quite the Mr. Irrelevant shindig if you win a grand.
If we hit first place, we'll have the shindig of all shindigs.
The shindig of all shindigs. You heard it here first.
$20,000, and it's
wishing you luck, buddy.
It's going to be a lot of fun because Monday there is a chance. Monday night, I have both Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown that I'm sweating every single drop back for the Detroit Lions against the 49ers. Because in the last game, I have two very important players and two very good players that are good fantasy scorers. That it could be the Monday of all Mondays.
Could be the Monday of all Mondays. Okay. Well, you let me know. I think I'm free on Monday, so
yeah.
I'll tip a few door counties back as we sweat this out on Underdog.
I will be sitting at home. If people want to join me, they're more than welcome. I've already said, hey, if there's a real chance here, I might have some people over just to have a good time, because why the hell not? How often do you have the chance to win $20,000 based on, let me tell you, I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm not here often. So it is a game. It is a game of luck. It's a fun game, and it's a game where every single pass and every single rush ends up mattering when you get down to this final 104 here out of 18,000 entries.
Attaboy. Joshy D, our underdog savant here on Mr. Irrelevant. Again, if you want to play the Pick'em game, use promo code GoodKarma, and you get a free Jordan Love pick if you've never played on Underdog before. So tonight's the night to do it. I'm just saying. Use promo code GoodKarma at sign up. All right, we always wrap up the show. You learn something new every day. We learn something new today. It's time now for what we learned on Mr. Irrelevant. And it's something we thought was coming. We weren't certain was coming, but it did happen at Fiserv Forum as the Milwaukee Bucks hang a championship banner for their win in the NBA Cup. Something Joshy was vehemently against. Something I was over the top for. I am in favor of the banner. The banner, though, a little underwhelming, Joshy. I can't say I'm a huge fan of the banner selection that they made, but I like the idea of the banner, if that makes sense.
So when I first saw this, I thought initially it looked like they went into Microsoft Word, typed NBA Cup and then the year, and then printed off and had it blown up to a size that you could hang a banner in. But then I saw the drawn out picture. I believe the wider screen of I think Brandon Snide put it out from WTMJ and our Bucks broadcast that we do there. That is the same kind of setup they have for the conference championships the Bucks have won and the division championships. So the plainness of it makes sense given the context. The reason it looks so funny is because, well, this is the second one, and the Bucks could only have two numbers up there. It looks a lot different when you have a whole bunch mixed in it. Yeah. And I think now seeing it and how it was unveiled, it was kind of just something that happened. It was a game no one really knew it was even going to be unveiled. And it is on the same level as a conference or division championship. Yeah. Like, it is an accomplishment, but it's not that important. And I think it's being treated with the right amount of respect. It's something we're celebrating. It's something you can point to.
So you're good with the banner because you were anti-banner.
I was anti-banner because I expected one to be more similar to the championship banners, which I did not want them to do. Sure. I think strategically, I mean, the Bucks are a pretty smart organization over there. They kind of know what they're doing. I think strategically, when you see it, it doesn't stick out. It doesn't seem like, oh, that's kind of weird. You're celebrating.
It's out of
nothing.
place.
Yeah,
right.
You busted it out over the weekend. It's a little banner. It's up there. You're not even going to notice it. Like, I didn't want a whole ceremony, having it like have a Bucks logo. It's just, it is what it is. You won it. That's cool, fun, and that was a good time.
Did they do a ceremony for the unveiling? I obviously wasn't at the game on Saturday. Did they do a whole, like, please direct your attention to the skyline of Fiserv Forum as we reveal the NBA Cup banner?
They did do the curtain draw on it. I didn't see how they actually like broadcasted it out, but it didn't feel like, from what I was watching and what I had seen, I was running around all weekend, but the videos I saw, it was kind of just like, hey, check this out. You won the NBA Cup, and you do round of applause. Hey, cool, fun, and then you play a basketball game.
All right, I dig it. So I'm glad to see you're less curmudgeon-y around this. You're more pro banner than you were last week, which makes me happy. They did the right thing, I think, of underplaying it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, Joshy. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a habitually late holiday shopper every year.
Ah, jeez.
So this is usually the day I go, is December 23rd. That's usually my day. Here in Green Bay, I go to a couple different stores. However, with Green Bay game day happening tonight, with the Packers playing tonight, I'm going to the game tonight with a couple of my college buddies. Tonight, obviously, was not going to work for holiday shopping. So I went last night, and I went to this store in Bay Park Square, which is up the street here in Green Bay. Mall I used to work at the Lids at. Fun fact, for those of you that maybe did not know, I worked at the Lids.
You are a Lids employee.
I did work at Lids. Yeah, I did work at Lids for 3 years. Yeah, that was one of my high school jobs. Anyway, I went into a store which has a ton of sports stuff, and the Bucks section in the store, layered, riddled with NBA Cup gear. I mean, it was everywhere in the store, Josh. I did not make a purchase, and I regret it. I was going to buy a shirt or a hat, and I ended up not pulling the trigger on that to celebrate the NBA Cup win from last week.
Yeah, I think you need to put on phony alert. Phony alert. You didn't enjoy the NBA Cup as much as you said. That should have been an instant purchase, a must-buy situation for you there, and you decided, nah.
Joshy, this is the thing that is going to make you say phony alert about me. Because I feel like you've got 800 other options to work with, and you're running with the NBA Cup gear I didn't purchase to call me a phony.
You're an NBA Cup phony. You were Mr. NBA Cup. Hell yeah, this is great, and then you couldn't even be bothered to purchase a hat.
I think ultimately it is a good sign of things to come for the Milwaukee Bucks, and it is a great accomplishment to win the NBA Cup. Yes, I am not a phony. I stand by that.
With how littered the place was with it, does it mean that the NBA Cup championship merch probably ain't going off the shelves in the way they'd expected?
Well, I'm imagining they probably got it in the last 48 hours, so I'm not going to say that. I still think a lot of people are going to be opening their gifts the next couple days, Josh, including you, hopefully, and you're gonna open up an NBA Cup sweatshirt.
My gifts are all done, except for, of course, from Santa himself at this point. But I've done all mine. We had a Christmas with my family. The girlfriend
so what'd
and
you
I
get?
have exchanged a lot of clothes. Oh, I got.
Me too. Yep.
You got to hear this one.
Oh boy.
It is a shovel thrower from DeWalt. It is basically a shovel, and you hold the trigger, and it throws the snow. So you're not actually doing the manual labor of pushing and lifting. You just, it throws it like a snowblower. It's like a mini.
So is there a battery on this thing?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Throws it 20 feet, Strouf, and I can directionally aim it. I am fired up about that.
Well, Josh, I'll tell you what, right now, I'm watching all of our teammates working hard here at the Tundra Trio. They're shoveling out the backyard right now. They could use your assistance. That's for sure.
If they would have told me, I would have brought it up there and just walked around with that thing, because I took it out for a little test drive. I even did a little bit of the grass just to make sure everything's working. So if you got to do that, and I was just throwing snow all over the place, just mowing it right through it. It was so much fun.
So my girlfriend did give me a couple of my gifts early, including, so I'm going to stand up for you on the video stream. And for those of you not watching on the video stream, I'm essentially just wearing a green Nike sweatshirt with the old Packers logo on it, the vintage one from the 1920s. Now, last week on Green Bay game day, Joshy, Gabe Neitzel wore this exact same sweatshirt. And I said to him, hey, buddy, I really like that sweatshirt. So I opened this the other day. My girlfriend goes, hey, I know Gabe has this sweatshirt. I'm hoping this is all right, though. I was like, yeah, I actually complimented him on it last week during Green Bay game day. And she goes, yeah, I was watching. And I said, oh, shoot, man. I just, that one just came in the mail for you. So me and Gabe Neitzel, accidental twins, but I will not be returning this because Gabe Neitzel owns it. It's a great sweatshirt and a thoughtful gift. So, yeah, there you go. There you have it. Accidental twinning with Gabe Neitzel.
Also, one of the things I received, which is one of my favorite gifts every year because I hate buying them for myself, is socks and underwear. I get so excited.
Dude, big time.
When I bust open a new six-pack of
is
undies.
Is that a mom gift or a girlfriend gift?
That's a mom gift.
Yeah,
That's
me
always
too.
a mom gift.
Yeah, underwear and socks for mom every year. You know, and that is a great point, Joshy, because so I'm 26. How old are you?
36.
Okay, so you got me by 10 years. But, I mean, if you think back to when you were like 16, so 10 years ago for me, 20 years ago for you, I hated it. I was so unappreciative of the underwear and socks. And now it is literally the only thing I ask my mother for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, we're all at the stage now where if we want things, we can just buy them ourselves. So there's not really things out there that you're like, oh, I really want a PlayStation. I want stuff that's going to help me, is going to be practical. And there's no particular reason why I don't like buying underwear. I just hate spending money for something that is an undergarment.
Can't blame you on that. No, well, look, you'll appreciate this then. My 29-year-old brother, father of two, asked his fiance for an Xbox this year. So, I mean, it's not completely true. People still do it, including my blood relatives. So there you have it. All right, that will do it for us on this Monday edition of Mr. Irrelevant. A reminder, this is our final edition of the show until the new year. We will still have Weekly Wildy coming up this Thursday to preview Packers-Vikings, and next Thursday ahead of Packers-Bears, the season finale. We will have a show next Friday, January 3rd, leading you into the Packers-Bears game. And then when we come back to wrap up the NFL regular season, it also happens to be episode number 200, 2 weeks from today, of Mr. Irrelevant, our 200th episode as we wrap up the NFL regular season and get you ready for the wild card game wherever the Packers will be playing. But I'm going to take the rest of the year off. Joshy's going to take the rest of the year off. Hunter Vaughn is already off. So we are taking the rest of the calendar year off. We're back with you next Friday to preview Packers and Bears. Appreciate the journey that 2024 has been here on Mr. Irrelevant. Joshy's been added to the show. I moved to Milwaukee. Done a couple shows in Green Bay as well this year. It's been an awesome year, so appreciative of you, appreciative of our friends at Door County Distillery. Again, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits, doorcountydistillery.com. Appreciative of our friends over at Underdog and UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code GoodKarma and get in on their pick'em game. Again, tonight, if you're a new user, a free Jordan Love pick on the Underdog app and UnderdogFantasy.com by using promo code Good Karma. Big thanks to Joshy for stepping up and running the show today. Big thanks to our guy Dylan Brixis for getting us set up here in Green Bay. And got the show running. DB, events guy here in Green Bay, getting us up and running. We are back with you, though, on ESPN Wisconsin at 4 o'clock for Green Bay Game Day. 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, 100.5 ESPN in Madison. And 620 WTMJ, I'll be joined by Super Bowl champion Jared Bush, Gabe Neitzel, Rob Domofsky, and Jason Wilde throughout as we lead you up to kickoff of Packers-Saints just outside of Lambeau Field here at the Tundra Trio. We'll talk to you formally next year. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf.
Losers.
Losers. Peace.